What's going on? Are you e-bike shopping? Let me guess, you've been online looking at bikes, trying to decide which one to get, and you can't figure it out because there's a million to pick from. So now you're here on YouTube and you're gonna watch a few videos, maybe help you decide which bike you're supposed to get. Well, I'm here to help. I got behind me 9 different e-bikes from 8 different brands, and I'm gonna show you all these bikes today real quick, just like 1 or 2 minutes on each one, so you get to see the bikes side by side. Maybe I'll tell you a couple things you didn't know about them, things you need to know about them. Maybe I'll introduce you to a few e-bike features you didn't even know you wanted. Hopefully at the end of this video, you'll have a better idea of what's gonna work for you. So let's get started. All right, we got a lot to discuss today, so I'm just gonna jump right in. This is all on the fly. I don't have anything scripted out. I'm just gonna talk about each bike for a little bit and then move on to the next. And the first one I'm gonna show you is this one. This is the Himiway Zebra 26x4 fat tire bike. It's got a 48 volt, 20 amp hour battery pack hidden in the frame. Pretty big battery pack, that's good, gonna give you a good range. 750 watt rear hub motor, rack and fenders included. Goes for, I think, under 2 grand. I think it's like 1,900 bucks. Comes in step over or step through frame styles. What do you need to know about this bike? Let's see. So it is a hardtail, no rear suspension. It does come with this gigantic rear rack. You've got headlight, taillight, brake light on this bike. The paint job looks great. It's like a metallic gray, really shiny, it pops. When I looked at it online, I was like, that's kind of boring. When I got it, I'm like, okay, this thing's really sharp. It's a nice glossy paint job. I like that. I put huge tires on it. The frame of this bike allows for larger tires, so I put on 4.9 inch wide tires. It comes with 4 inch wide. I put 4.9s on, and it accommodated them just fine. It's got hydraulic disc brakes. It's a 7-speed. I changed my display. I took off the regular Himiway display because that's limited. It limits you to 25 miles an hour, and I wanted to get rid of that governor. So I put on a different display that will allow me to go over 30. I've had this bike like 32 miles an hour now. So it just kind of removes that speed limit, but all Himiway bikes now are set to class 2 when you get them 20 miles an hour, and then you can unlock them to like 24.9. So if you want to go faster than that, you have to change the display to get rid of that limit. It's got decent power. It's not, you know, the powerhouse, but it had plenty to climb the hills. I didn't think it really struggled there. You've got a twist throttle on your right hand. I prefer that over the thumb throttle. Not a bad bike for under 2 grand. I think there's probably a lot of people out there considering this one. It's really long. It's kind of got a stretched out wheelbase. It's, I think, like 4 or 5 inches longer than a normal fat tire bike. So it's really stretched out. I had to move my racks, my steady racks in the garage up the wall higher to allow this thing to hang on the wall. So it's a long bike, and it's also a heavy bike. I think it weighs in right around 87 pounds. All right, let's get this guy out of the way so I can show you the next one, which is gonna be a bike from Aventon. All right, here's the Aventon Aventure.2. This is the updated version that they just came out with in January of this year. This bike comes in multiple colors, multiple frame sizes. You can also get step through or step over. This one in particular is cobalt blue. It's a step through, and it's a small frame size. And I can ride it comfortably at 6 feet tall. Again, it's a hardtail bike, no rear suspension. There's plenty of room here to add in a suspension seat post though if you want. 26x4 fat tires. Battery pack's kind of small on this one. It's about 15 amp hour, and it's integrated into the frame. 48 volt, 15 amp hour, 750 watt rear hub motor on the Aventon. Plenty power. It's, I'd say, maybe one of the stronger ones. Good hill climb power, good speed out of it. I was able to, you know, it's a class 3 e-bike, so you can pedal it to 28 miles an hour. I've actually found that the motor will assist you up to 32 miles an hour, and then you feel it kind of cut out. So you're gonna go 30 plus on this bike probably pretty easily. The rack and fenders are included, and they're very nice. They're metal fenders on here and a very nice rear rack. That's probably the, I guess, the standout feature of the Aventon bikes. They're very well put together, and they're very nicely finished. The paint is beautiful on it. The graphics package is really nice on it. The metal fenders that are all branded. It came with a nice seat, but I changed it out. You've got trigger shifters here. It's an 8-speed, really nice soft rubber grips. Of course, hydraulic brakes. The display screen, it's kind of dark. You can't really see it with polarized lenses in your sunglasses, but it also connects to your phone via Bluetooth, so you can track your rides, share pictures on their little app. You can make changes to the bike from the app. That's one thing I really want to point out. To change the speed limit on this bike, you must use their app. You can't do it just from the bike. So if you want to unlock it to that 28 plus, you got to download the app, link it to your bike, and then go change the speed, which I wasn't a huge fan of that, but you only got to do it once, so whatever. This bike has a left-hand thumb throttle. I know people are really polarized on throttles. I don't care for left thumb. I'd rather have right twist on throttles. It's got a really nice upright seating position. Comes in, I think, right around $2,000 or less. I think it's like 1,900 bucks, and it's a really sharp looking bike. I think one of the best finished fat tire bikes in that price category. To me, that is the draw of this bike. Everything is just, you know, you get the little rubber grommets where the wires go into the frame, and it's all integrated in there. All the welds are ground down smooth on this frame. It just looks really elegant and nicely finished. So that is a little bit about the Adventure.2 bike. And I should mention, every bike I'm showing you, I've also done a full review on, so you can check my playlist for that. Just put in Citizen Cycle on the bike name, you'll find it. So those were two hardtail bikes. Let's move over to a full suspension bike now. And we've got the Wired Freedom. What a beast. Oh my God. This bike is for the power, the speed and power crowd. This is your bike. This thing is crazy powerful and crazy fast. I mean, 60 volt battery, 40 amp controller, rear hub motor that is enormous. It's peaking well over 2,000 watts. This thing has got some serious get up and go in it. Off the line, you can lift the front wheel in the air. Great acceleration, great hill climb power. Top speed, I mean, you can go 38 miles an hour on the throttle with ease on this. You can hit 40 plus on the downhills. That is the party trick of the Wired Freedom. It's just a powerhouse of a bike for $2,000. This thing costs 2,000 bucks, and you get just a serious drivetrain on this bike, coupled with a full suspension. I mean, it's got a front suspension fork and a rear suspension shock. It's not an air shock. Neither one of them is an air shock, but it has dual suspension. It's not, you know, that's not the standout feature of the Wired. The power is, not the suspension. You notice it's there, you can feel it's there. It's better than a suspension seat post. Dual suspension bikes almost always are, but the power is definitely the draw here. It's a nice looking bike. It doesn't have the finishings of like the Adventure bike. You can see all the welds, but I mean, I think it looks nice. I like this blue, it really pops. It comes with rack and fenders included. You get headlight, taillight, brake light. Really tall upright seating position because it's got these BMX style handlebars. So you don't have to lift the handlebars up at all. It's really tall. You sit upright, full color display, easily programmable, right hand twist throttle, 7 speeds. Of course, you've got hydraulic brakes. It's got a really bright headlight, like a 100 lux headlight. The gearing's good. I think it's got a 52 tooth front chainring, so you don't really run out of pedal even at the high speeds on this bike. And if you're looking for speed, power, and fun at a cheap price, this is your guy. I mean, $2,000 for this thing. That's a pretty amazing price. I'm not sure any other bike, bang for your buck, power-wise, that's going to beat this right now. So that is Wired Freedom. Check them out. And we've got next a Cyrusher bike. This is the Ranger bike. This is a pretty new addition from Cyrusher. Cyrusher Ranger. Okay, 26x4 fat tire bike. Again, full suspension on this. You've got air shocks, both front and rear air shocks on this bike. The suspension is better than the Wired bike. It soaks up more of the bumps. It is definitely less powerful than the Wired bike though. You've got a 52 volt 20 amp hour battery pack hiding in the frame. I rode this thing really aggressively and I got 40 miles out of one charge. That's pretty darn good, I thought. You got these motorcycle inspired front forks. They got like the double crown, double shoulder, whatever you want to call it. Makes it sit up pretty nice and tall. It's got a 750 watt rear hub motor. Power is, you know, right there, and I'd say in the middle of the pack. It's not overly powerful like the Wired bike. It's not underpowered. I think it's adequate. It is a heavy bike. It's over 90 pounds, so it's really heavy. The Wired bike is about, I think, 78 pounds. It's one of the lighter ones. This one is really stout, over 90 pounds on this thing. And this bike also has a torque sensor for the pedal assist, which means this is keeping track of how hard you're pushing on the pedals, and it's delivering you power accordingly. So torque sensor on this bike. The Wired bike didn't have a torque sensor. That's a cadence sensor on that. I forgot to mention, the Aventon does have a torque sensor. One of the best I've felt. That's definitely one of the best torque sensors. It's very sensitive and responsive. I like the Aventon's torque sensor. It's better than Cyrusher's, honestly. I didn't know that there was different levels of torque sensors, but I can feel a difference. This one doesn't kick in as immediately or release as immediately as the Aventon bike does. The Zebra, it had cadence sensor. This does not have a torque sensor on it. The torque sensors are a fancier part. It's a higher end part. It's a more expensive part. If it breaks, it's going to be a lot more to repair it, but it's so much nicer in my opinion. It's keeping track of your pressure of your foot inputting in the pedals instead of just if the pedals are spinning. So I think the torque sensors are a definite thing on my list I like to see on the bikes now. All right, so that was Cyrusher, the Ranger bike. And if you got questions on any of these, just drop them in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer it, since I've, got access to all these bikes. I can come out here and find an answer to a question you got. Just drop it in the comments. All right, next up is the Himiway Cobra. And this bike has quickly climbed the list of one of my favorite bikes. I love this thing. This is a great bike. It's the Cobra, not the Cobra Pro. So this one has a rear hub motor in it, 750 watt rear hub motor. It's got a 25 amp controller, 48 volt, 20 amp hour battery pack hiding in the frame there. It's got decent power. It's not earth shattering power, but it's adequate. It's a heavy bike, probably close to 90 pounds. It's got big, huge, fat tires on it. It comes stock with 4.8 inch wide tires, and these tires are absolutely enormous tires. I love it. I love the look. I love the fat tire look. It's got enough power to motivate this bike, but by far the absolute standout feature of this bike is the suspension. It is like riding on a cloud. It is amazing. The best suspension out of any bike sitting here by far, head and shoulders above the rest. The suspension is awesome on this bike. It's so squishy soft, it soaks up everything. I love it. I love it. That alone makes this thing worth the money. This thing I think goes for 2,400 bucks, and the combination of the decent power, the awesome suspension, the cool looks, and the ginormous fat tires. Yeah, I think that's on target. I think it's priced accurately. If you wanted more power, you could always go with the Cobra Pro, which has like a 1,000 watt mid-drive motor on it. Same frame design other than that though. And this bike does not come with a rack or fenders, nor do they sell them on the website. You got these fenders, you can see they're a little different. I made them. I made my own fenders, and then I just vinyl wrapped them in this carbon fiber wrap to try to make it look like they were supposed to be there. But there's no storage on this bike at all. I had to add this front roll here to just be able to carry a hat or sunglasses or water bottle or whatever with me. And that's really the only storage that I've got on this thing. So if you're looking to carry a lot of stuff with you, you can't really do it on this bike. But if you wanted an off-roader to just eat up all the bumps on a rough terrain, this is your guy. I've made a bunch of changes to it. I added the fenders, I changed the seat, I changed the display. Again, it was a Himiway, so it was locked down at 25 miles an hour. I upgraded the display here, and now it goes, I think, close to 30. It had a left-hand thumb throttle. I changed that to a right-hand twist throttle, and I also changed out the grips and added some mirrors. So there's a little extras on here. I'll link, there's extras on a lot of these bikes. I'll put the links below if you are interested in any of that. And I should mention this bike also does have a torque sensor, which is great. I just put them in pedal assist 5, and then I never change it, because you can ride it at 4 miles an hour, even pedal assist 5, because if you're not pushing hard on this, it's not giving you power. They're so much better. So torque sensor on this bike, great feature. All right, next up, we're gonna switch. So we're off the full suspension bikes now. We're gonna go to a 20-inch wheel bike to take a look at. This is the Magicycle Ocelot Pro. 20x4 fat tires on this bike. It's got a 52 volt, 20 amp hour battery pack tucked in the frame right there, and a 750 watt rear hub motor. It is not a Bafang, I don't think. It doesn't say that on it. So if you ever break this motor, you're probably gonna have to go to Magicycle to get whatever brand of motor this is so it fits in there. It's got great power. This has really good hill climb power, really good speed. I mean, you can get up near 30 miles an hour on this thing pretty easily. You can see that I have just totally decked this thing out with every kind of accessory on you can think of on here. I got the front basket from them. I think it was like 99 bucks I paid for that thing. Put a little cooler in here, so I got storage on the front. I changed to a larger headlight. I put on spoke skins. I put Tannus Armor inside the tires. I've got bar and mirrors on it. I added a little handlebar for my daughter to hang on to while we ride. She rides on this shotgun seat. Expensive bike seat, but worth the money. Crazy adjustable. You can move every piece and part of it. It fits on fat tire bikes with the wide frame here. The leg things go around it. We got our little water bottle holder, a rear pack with huge saddlebags. I changed the seat And the list goes on. Again, I'll link all this stuff if you want to find it, but this has become my go pick my daughter up from school bike, go to the store, get some groceries bike. It is super accessible, very low step through, very low seat height. My wife can sit on this bike with her feet flat on the ground, knees bent, and she's only 5'3". If you're short, this is a bike for you. It's really accessible. This or the Cyrusher Komoda bike. That one's really short as well. I mean, the standout things about this bike are just going to be accessibility, the cargo carrying capacity, great power. There's only one thing I don't like, which is it has automatic cruise control. When you hold the throttle open, it automatically locks the throttle, which I don't know why, but they've changed that now. There's been software updates. The new ones I don't think do that. You can turn off the automatic cruise control, which is great. I may have to look into trying to get maybe a newer display from them. Maybe I can remove that then. But great little bike. This one's probably going to be hanging around in my garage for a while. I'll link all these goodies too if you want to find them. Now if we jump over to this is my wife's Rad Mini, which I don't think they even make anymore. I think they changed to like the Rad Expand now. So this is the Mini, and I don't really like this bike all that much. It's not bad. It's really smooth. I'll give Rad that. It's a smooth bike. It's just not powerful. I've had, I don't know, 4 or 5 Rad bikes. They don't have a whole lot of power. They kind of peak at 750 watts, where all these other bikes, they have 750 watt motors, but they peak at like 1100, 1200. The Rad doesn't do that. The way they set theirs up is they peak at 750. So they're just really not that strong going up hills, but not everybody wants speed and power like I do. This is very tame. You can throw anyone on this bike and they can ride it and they'll love it because it's very non-threatening. It's easy to get onto. The tires are a little skinnier. They're 3-point-something inch wide. Battery pack's kind of small. It's like 14 amp hour, 48 volt, and that's a 750 motor, but that's the peak of it. It's probably a 500 watt motor in there really that peaks at 750. You got headlight, taillight, brake light. This has mechanical brakes on it. Maybe they've changed that and they've upgraded hydraulic. I hope, like the rest of the industry. And I know someone's gonna ask me about this basket, and I don't know what to tell you. I ordered this basket from Amazon, and I don't think it's been in stock since the day I ordered it 3 years ago. So I don't know where to tell you to get one, and I make sure I'll never get rid of that because we'll never find another one. But everybody loves that basket on there. This is a folding e-bike. This is the first folder that we've looked at here in this lineup. Folding bikes, they're a great idea in theory. They're never as easy as you think to fold and load. I mean, this bike weighs over 70 pounds. So folding it up and it's all awkward and trying to lift it into a car, it's a pain in the butt. If you're gonna get a folding bike, get a lightweight folding bike. Get like the electric XP Lite. It only weighs like 40 pounds. Get that one if you're gonna get a folding bike. These giant bikes that fold, it's just not, it just doesn't work really. But to summarize this one, for me the power's kind of lacking, but this is a bike that anybody can jump on and ride and probably have a ball on it if you've never ridden an e-bike before. But like I said, I don't think they make this particular model anymore. I think it's called Rad Expand now. It looks pretty similar. So Rad's a big name in the industry. From what I can see, their bikes are okay. Like I said, I've had 4 or 5. I still have my Citizen bike, which was originally a Rad. I don't think there's a single part left on the thing that's Rad Rover anymore. I've changed everything on it. I sold one, and then the other Rad bike I had became my Pee-wee bike. If you haven't seen my big e-venture video, check that out. It's hilarious. I built a Pee-wee Herman bike out of a Rad Rover. But let's move this out of the way. All right, now we're on to pretty much the exact opposite of a Rad Mini. This is the fabulous Havoc X2. This thing is just an absolute powerhouse. It's got a 60 volt battery, dual 750 watt motors, dual controllers on there, which I think each one's 22 amps. It's just an absolute torque monster. It's almost dangerous how powerful this bike is. It's crazy. They just came out with this bike. They're, I think, pre-order at the moment. This is a prototype bike, so it's kind of banged up. The screen's shattered and the frame is a little nicked up and it's kind of locked down. I couldn't fully unleash it, but holy cow, the amount of torque that this bike has is absolutely crazy. It's a 20 by 4 fat tire bike. It is a folder, but it weighs like 92 pounds. So I don't know why you'd ever fold this thing and try to put it in a car. It's too big for that really. Comes with rack and fenders. I couldn't test the top speed. They tell me from the factory they do like 34 miles an hour. Just insane hill climb power out of this thing. It just digs and claws its way to the top of any hill. That's what you get when you got an all-wheel drive bike. Geared hub motor in each wheel. It's just crazy amount of power. This is the Crimson Red, which is pretty sharp. It also comes in a blue color as well, I think. It's got mag wheels. I think they're cooler than spoke. It has BMX style handlebars, gives you a really tall upright ride position. It was really comfy. This is your all-wheel drive button to turn the front motor off and on. This one's even got turn signals. And that reminds me, actually, I forgot to say this about the Aventon. You know, the super nicely finished bike, but it has dual turn signals back here, dual brake lights and tail lights and turn signals that are self-canceling. So that just, again, reinforces the design of this Aventon bike. But little side, I got sidetracked there. Let's go back to Havoc. This one has turn signals as well. It's all integrated into this one light right here on the back. The rack, fenders included. What else about this bike? It has a twist throttle and trigger shifters up here. And if you're looking for a wild ride with a ton of power, this is absolutely one to check out. All right, now let's bring it back down a notch here. This is not a fat tire bike. This is the Euphree City Robin. Let me pull it into the light so we can see it actually a little bit better. It's a really nice finished bike as well. And this is a really well thought out bike, kind of like the Aventon bike. It's very well designed. It's a skinnier tire, like 2.1 inch wide or something like that. But the benefit of that is it's more maneuverable, it's lighter weight. I mean, as this thing sits, it's probably only 60 pounds, where most of these other bikes are close to 90. So it's much lighter weight and easier to manage. You got a low step through on it. It's a 48 volt, 14 amp hour battery pack, I think, in there. I think I got like 27 miles out of it, throttle only. You've got I believe this is a 500 watt rear hub motor, peaks probably like 800 or 900 watts. It's got rack, it's got fenders, and it actually comes with a really nice Suntour suspension seat post. I took it out just to get the seat lower so my wife could ride it. That Suntour seat post, that thing's like 120 bucks. If you go try to buy one of those aftermarket, and it soaks up everything. So it's got kind of like a rear suspension that you get included with the purchase price. But just a lot of attention to detail on this bike, down to the pedals, have little rubber inserts into them, and they feel better on your feet. I mean, you got multiple spots here to add attachments like locks and bottles. It's got an adjustable handlebar stem. All the wires are integrated even into the stem. This is the only time you see wires on this bike. They go in the stem right here, down, and then through the frame. So it's very clean looking bike. It's got decent power. I mean, you can get up to 28 miles an hour just on the throttle. It's not a hill climbing powerhouse, but as long as you're pedaling a little bit to help it, perfectly fine going up the hills. You have front suspension on it, Tektro hydraulic brakes. You got little trigger shifters here. It's a 7-speed integrated phone holder. You put your phone in here and you can click it like off and on the bike, super easy. What else? Little small display off to the side here. There's like fast and slow start modes in the display. Left-hand thumb throttle on this one. And just a great little commuter style bike. When I want to go out for a bike ride and want to feel like I'm riding a bike, this is the one I take. All these other ones feel like an off-road utility vehicle for fun. When you get on a Himiway Cobra, this thing is such a monster compared to this bike. This is fun to go out on my lunch hour and just go for like an actual bike ride. So just one option for you if you've decided through all of this talking that maybe these fat tire bikes are too big or too heavy for you. I mean, this Zebra's like 87 pounds. Aventon, I think, is 70, low 70s. This one's about 78 pounds. Cyrusher's 90. The Cobra, I think, was close to 90 as well. Even this small 20x4 fat tire bike, the Ocelot, I think, weighs 87 pounds. And that's before I put all these accessories on it. So the thing's probably close to 100 pounds now. And I'm pretty sure this one weighs about 92. These are all really heavy bikes. So prepare yourself for that. And I would say most of these larger 26x4 fat tire bikes, you want to be about 5'7" to ride these comfortably. If you're shorter than that, you might want to look at the 20-inch wheel bikes. All right, well, hopefully you found some of this information helpful and maybe give you a little bit better idea of what kind of bike is going to work for you. If you like info like this, do me a favor, consider hitting subscribe and coming back for more e-bike information. That's all for today. Thanks so much for watching.